Hey, welcome to the MMO Grind. I'm Malice. This is my co-host Zaylin, and this is our wonderful guest Jolene Goya, a technical artist from Blizzard Online Entertainment, working on the Diablo 4 project. Unfortunately, as you all are aware, Blizzard's a little tight with your NDA, so we won't be going too far into the whole Diablo 4 thing, but we're going to really dive into Jolene's career and everything that has made her what she is today to inspire Blizzard to want to bring her on for such a high-end project. So let's get this started. Let's talk about your career in video games. So I guess the first question really would be, what school did you go to? Because everybody wants to know where you go to find out how to be an artist or get into game development.
Actually, I went to an art institute over here in Orange County, California. I'm a local native here, so it was kind of like the closest art school that I could easily get to. And there I did a program called Media Art and Animation, where I learned about how to make animations and movies and things like that. But I never they did actually have a game program there, but I didn't follow that path. Turns out one thing that I followed, character rigging, it's applicable to both film and games.
Did you just not have any interest in that game track at all, or more interest in something else?
Definitely did. So the reason that I wanted to do video games was actually because I was playing Diablo 2, and I loved actually their cinematics. So I wanted to make movies for video games at that time. That's kind of where I went. But as I kind of progressed through the school and kind of learned about both the film industry and the video game industry, I kind of gravitated more to doing in-game stuff. So
right, yeah, those cinematics, like especially Blizzard hands down. It doesn't matter what game you're talking about. They have always done amazing cutting edge cinematics to lead in their games and their advertisement stuff. Oh,
yeah.
I mean, that was one of the great things when we worked on Warhammer. Our intro video was just amazing. It blew people out of the water. If only the gameplay was like that, that'd be great.
Agreed.
Thanks for the follow there, Gladius. About time.
Gladius hadn't been following us? What? Thanks, Glad. Appreciated there. Yeah.
So let's talk about the program that you were in. Was it everything that you were expecting? Did it further drive your passion for what you were doing? Did it kind of make you rethink stuff? Like, how was that experience?
Yeah, I wasn't really sure what the pipeline would look like to make a movie, or an animation or a game or any of that. Really, I just thought, I just had a super basic knowledge, like, oh, I want to do animation, but I had no idea what that took. And so the program kind of takes you through the whole pipeline. And so during that, character rigging was something that I got kind of interested in. At the time in high school, I was part of a robotics team, and when I learned about rigging, I thought it kind of reminded me of making robots, but not remotely limited to like real physics and reality, and I could do anything that I want. But it's like making little digital robots if I, So that's kind of how I took that path.
So define for us real quick what character rigging is.
Character rigging is I can take a 3D character model. So you have your A pose or T pose guy, and I insert a skeleton in them. So I kind of designate this is a wrist, here's an elbow, and I create a control system around it. So you can grab the wrist and you can rotate it around, place it on things like that. So taking a static polygon model and giving it the ability to move. And that's what you would give to animators, and they're the ones that kind of make it come to life. So I'm that step between modeling and animation.
Ah, very interesting.
No one really talks about us a lot. So.
Well, see,
It's either
that's why we,
modeling or
that's why we bring you on here, so people get to know actually all the layers of what it actually takes to put these models in the games that they love. But they sit there and they go, "Well, just some artist or so, blah blah blah," and it's like they don't understand the layers
yeah,
and complexity, especially in the modern game. These
yeah,
very cinematic style, beautiful games. Like it's a lot of work.
yeah. It's crazy. I was just reading here about what Gladius was saying is about making it a puppet. That's kind of what it is. I'm making a puppet. I'm the one that puts the strings on the puppet guy, and then somebody else makes it cool.
And then there's a puppeteer who actually makes it dance.
Yeah,
Well, that's very cool. Someone's got to make the puppet,
yeah,
right?
yeah.
So, looking at your career, once you first got out of school, where did you take that education first?
Where did I go right after school?
Yeah.
I went to a company called Shiny Entertainment. They were a local company. They were around in like '95 or something like that. Might have heard of Earthworm Jim, maybe.
Yep.
That was one of their games. Uh,
God love Earthworm Jim.
yeah, that place was pretty neat. More specifically, like where the location of the studio was.
Mhm.
Uh, it was actually on like a the ocean here, a bay. So
Right.
you look out the window and there's like boats and pretty water, but then it's also a video game studio, so they closed all the windows and it was like a cave and it was sad. It's like,
Wow.
no, we
Totally
have such a
ruining
great spot. And it
it.
just meant we all went outside more often during lunchtime. So
Right. It's when I was working for a company in Carpinteria out there, we were right on the ocean. Our campus was right on the ocean, and sure enough, everybody's programmers, so they're like they might have the shades cracked open enough to let some sun in, and you're
yeah,
like, dude, this is California, man. What the heck? But I mean, obviously, I'm not from California, so to me, it was like I couldn't understand why you would possibly block anything else out. But when you work on a computer screen, having sun glaring in your wind, we all know how that goes as gamers. So like,
yeah.
you kind of want it dark.
And I mean, as far as some artists too, thankfully not me, but some artists are very dependent on colors and
Mhm.
having outside influence like
Right.
sunsets, and we have very beautiful sunsets here, uh, will interfere with their work. So uh,
Yep.
it's not very unfortunate. But that being said, I now sit by a window at work and I enjoy it.
Because the only thing you really need to know is reds, blues, and greens as far as the difference from skeletal pieces.
Yeah, exactly.
No one will see those.
So how many years of active work, whether it was learning in school or on the job doing stuff, did you go through before you finally got to the point where you're like, okay, I can do pretty much any character rigging that a company might throw at me? Like you reach that point in your career where you're like, all right, I totally got this.
Yeah, I feel like I'm not there. Technology changes constantly. There's always new methods. There's always new software upgrades. I mean, I'm primarily in Maya. Maya's been around for a long time now, but every year there's always something new to be discovered about it. So, or just maybe a new engines now have a new ability to handle something. So, uh, what can I do in with my work to help like bring that into our engine now? So it's
what was
constantly changing.
what was much more availability of simple motion is now fully articulated faces for
Right.
full emotional experience and everything like that. And
Yeah,
all of a sudden, I'm sure that's got to be some of the most complex rigging is just everything in the facial structure and working on
for
lips and
sure.
eyes and all that stuff because
Absolutely. Faces are actually they can be their own section. We have, you know, there's definitely studios that have like people who are only dedicated to faces.
Wow.
Yeah,
yeah, it makes sense. Like I've seen the rigs on faces, and it's
insane.
impressive.
Yeah,
I mean, considering the level of what's very common now in a lot of video games, even especially MMOs and things like that, where you can make a customizable character, like the level of even customization tools, like they're using almost bitmap like control and stuff where you can actually like you actually click on it, it gives you that mesh, and then like you'd actually drag the mesh and stuff like that. And it's like, wow, that's incredible. If you could do that from a player side, what does it take on the animation side and the
Yeah.
rigging to set all that up just so you can do that?
So
Yeah.
Gladius is kind of passively asking a question here. How deep of an understanding of anatomy and physiology does it take to do the different levels of complexity that's involved in your work?
You of course can be a no. That's the wrong word.
Kinesiologist, yeah.
Yep.
Is that what the word?
Yep.
Mm. I'm sure you can probably like master in that, but really you just need to know like some of the major muscles and some major bones, and you can get away with it. But we also kind of sometimes use mirrors and references to kind of see like what muscles we actually have and how would they look if I lifted my arm, like if it was like a buff dude, like what would that muscle actually do. And if you're now that video games have come a long way, we can add extra joints and fun things like that. We can like now make like something that can maintain this like cool muscle mass here, and maybe even make it little jiggle and stuff like that. But I would say that's like you need kind of a basic understanding, but it's something that you can learn as you go. So it shouldn't stop anybody to want to try it.
Does it help in what you do to like the
Yeah, I
more you
think so.
know? Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Because so it's kind of neat. The skeletons that we build are actually, they're not necessarily anatomically correct. They're just kind of there to represent bones and muscles. So if I build like an arm here, or say the clavicle,
Right.
the bone is actually here, and we kind of articulate from here, but we have all this other mass here, so we'll actually stick our bone like right in the center of our neck and make it rotate and things like that. So you have like a basic understanding. I know this is where the clavicle is, but also muscle. And so I have to like, it's a lot of back and forth of trying things out. So
Now, is it more on your end or is it more on like animation's end to do things like so? Like you were talking about, like a muscled character. Say he lifts his arm, these muscles will bunch up and things like that. If it's a obviously, um, depending on the game, but if you have that type of high tech look and it bunches up and stuff like that, is that more on your end or is that animations or how does that work?
that's actually could be a split. We have the ability to create things that will auto animate for our animators. Some of the things that we have are they're called twist joints, and so in our arms, we usually create like an extra joint in the middle of our arms. So when you twist, things don't get extra weird, and like you have like candy wrapper effect
Right.
here. It tries to help maintain that mess, but that's auto animated. So that's something that we could do, but a lot of animators, sometimes they might not like the way at the rate at which things move. So we get them extra controllers on top so they get the ability to do what they want.
To get their extra tweak on.
Yeah, exactly.
Fair enough. Wow. Hey, Shoshi. So, we're getting a few people that pop in here who have are not regulars, so it's great to see. I went on an advertising campaign for you, so a lot of people got messages going, "Hey, come watch the show."
So in your time doing things, I would imagine that you've gotten a couple of joints, body parts that you absolutely love, and some that you absolutely just like, oh, I have to go and do this again.
Fingers drive me insane. So there was a character that I did for Silent Hill Homecoming, and she had like dozens of hands like coming out of everywhere. Her feet were also hands. So I had to do a lot of hands and fingers, and it drove me insane. And so I think since then I'm just like, they're not difficult. They're just we have a lot of them. So
It, she's a little shocked, a little PTSD for so many hands.
a little bit of a twitch. Sometimes when I look at concept artists' work, I'm just like, oh god.
You want me to animate what?
You want...
Especially in Silent Hill. I mean, you got all kinds of the weirdest, like,
Yeah.
what?
So I definitely love working with weird creatures and stuff. And I actually took a job out in New York last year, based off the game being like weird, having weird creatures in that they showed me in their concept art and stuff like that. Unfortunately, things didn't quite work out for that project, but which is okay because I got to be on Diablo and
Oh darn! Right? Yeah.
Okay, so
you ruined my career.
a lot of your, you said earlier, a lot of your interest was sparked off of playing Diablo 2. So is working on Diablo 4 like a dream come true type of thing, or is it just kind of okay, cool, it's another job?
It's a little bit of a mix of both. I think I've become a little jaded, I guess. It feels like any other, kind of more or less like any other studio. Not, I mean, there's big things about it. They're a big company and they have a lot of awesome stuff. Don't get me wrong; it's probably one of the best studios I've been at. But it's still the same workflow. It's still the same, things that I do. Nothing, out of the ordinary. But it is super awesome to say like what project I'm on.
Yeah.
And for the words to come out of my own mouth, I'm like, that's super cool.
It's in that I made it category of like,
yeah, absolutely. Like my high school me would be like super proud, and that's awesome. Yeah. So I'm
back when
really
you were playing Ashron's Call.
Oh, yeah. Just take those servers offline recently too, like a year or two ago.
Yeah, about like 2-3 years ago. Yeah,
something like that.
Actually, as a weird side note to that, they did a lot of goodbye messages. They had the last like hurrah for that game. There were people still playing that game that were like the big leaders when we were playing.
Oh snap!
Like I was like, holy crap! I recognize that person. You should not never move on to any other games. Like holy crap!
Unless they sold their account, you never know.
I mean, you're not wrong, but So.
But I don't put it past some people.
Yeah.
Oh, we see your cat in the background. It has been noticed.
Yep, cat.
That's Boba Cop Von Chicken Pants. He's new.
Pants.
We just adopted him in January.
Oh, okay.
Very cool. So, okay, why chicken pants?
Why
what?
not? Why wouldn't it be chicken pants?
Well, you never know. I mean, it could have been like, hey, we got this cat. We dressed him up in a chicken costume just to be funny for something. You never know.
So actually, we were just kind of asking some of our friends and family, like, what do we name our cat? I have a really bad addiction to boba drinks. So that was kind of one of the biggest. It was on the top of my list, but I asked one of our cousins about like, what would you call him? And he was like, Vincent Von Chicken Pants. And I was like, he comes up with the weirdest names. That being said, all his D&D character names are pretty fun. But I was like, I really enjoyed the Von Chicken Pants part. So that kind of stuck to the end.
Sounds great. Yeah. Why do you call cat chicken pants?
Gladys is making fun of me for the hard-hitting questions that I'm throwing out here. I'm sorry. These are the things that people want to know. This is the stuff people want to
know. I mean, besides obviously going into college, going to school to learn this aspect, what got you into art? Were you originally just totally into art when you were young and had a kind of a knack for it, or?
I used to draw a lot when I was a kid. Don't do as much these days, but I did a lot of that. And then again, doing robotics, playing a lot of video games. That I don't know. I just played a lot of video games, and then I think the guy I was dating at the time, and I was mentioning like, oh man, wouldn't it be cool to, be able to make work at Blizzard and make these movies for video games? Would that be cool? He's like, there's like a school for that. I'm like, oh, why didn't I think of that? Of course, there's a school for that. So that's when I
Maybe
kind
I'll
of just
go
like,
do that.
yeah, and that's more or less what happened. Was like, I guess I'll go do that. That's what I want to do. And then I did it, more or less. So
Very nice.
yeah. No, I've always played video games. Me and my dad would, did a lot of Parappa the Rapper. Even I had to play nice games with my dad. So
Yeah. Could definitely not bring them into the MMO culture of random horrible things that people constantly say.
yeah, I tried, but it didn't really work. Yeah, didn't really work out.
So besides Maya, what other types of software do you guys use in the industry that's most common?
I guess I could say 3D Studio Max. It's not my favorite, but
Yep.
and I will tell people Maya's the best, but that's just me. But there's like Motion Builder. Actually, those are kind of the main ones that we
The main
got.
three.
Yeah, those are the main three.
Yeah, I know Studio Max and Maya through my career, and a lot of people that I've talked to have always been like, you could literally just take two artists, it doesn't matter who, and they're just like, Maya, Studio Max, Maya, Studio Max, fight. Like,
you're not wrong. Thankfully, Maya was bought, and now 3D Studio Max and Maya are under the same umbrella, and so now there's like literally more or less an easy button to transfer stuff from one to the other. So
wow, that is hysterical, actually.
so usually our character modelers like to model in, or actually I guess they'll model in anything, but a lot of them like to model in Max, and I was like, that's cool. I don't care. Just make sure it comes to me in Maya. It's fine. Do whatever you need.
Yeah, well, especially if you can export and port to it, it's
Yeah.
like whatever. Like,
Yeah, and it's much easier these days. So
so what is your favorite project to date? I mean, obviously, besides your obviously glowing reviews of the perfection and wonders of working for Diablo 4. Previous to that, what I guess would be your favorite project? Because
I'm super proud of being on the project, The Order 1886. I learned a lot on that project, and it was super beautiful. I don't know if you guys happen to look at that project at all or not. Or
tell you what, while you're talking about this, I'll play your some demo reels that we have of you. So.
Oh, okay.
Which I believe contains some of that.
Yeah.
Yes.
No, that's Silent Hill, but that's all right.
Some of
that's Silent Hill.
There's 3 videos in there, so.
All right.
But yeah, I think I saw like one where you're doing all the like button work and everything like that. That was really
cloth stuff is pretty fun. And cloth stuff has come a long way as well.
Yes.
So, man,
everything used to glitch through everything and look like crap, and like you almost, if you wore a cape, you made sure it's hung straight down, otherwise it would glitch all over the place. And now it's like big flowing capes and clothes and all that great stuff. So
there's the hand lady.
Yeah,
there's some weird stuff.
Yeah.
It's a little bit of a human centipede action going on there.
She was something else.
And this one hanging upside down, like, hi.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. But yeah, weird creatures are pretty fun because I mean, I don't know, when you look at a human, I would say you can get a lot more away with like weird creatures because there's nothing really to compare it to. Whereas like humans, you can usually tell if there's something a little weird about them.
Right.
I don't know. I look at humans all day. I don't know. Just want to look at anything else.
Speaking of like just doing work for humans, do you find that like in many ways they become pretty cut and paste? Like when you're like, I'm gonna create this character, it's like cut paste, cut paste, cut paste.
So
and then add this tweak to it or something.
Actually, yeah, a lot of one of the big things that we do actually is we have like body types.
Mhm.
So we have like standard male, standard female, and then we just use that same skeleton throughout all the characters. But it's a lot of like back and forth with our character modelers and our animators, and our director, of course, to decide what their proportions might be. But
Right.
then we had create like a generic model, and then we go forward with that, saying like, all right, they have to fit within these parameters. That saves us a lot of things. So
Right. Have you ever worked on a project where the players themselves could adjust the parameters of their character model?
I have not, but so I don't necessarily know exactly what goes into that, other than what I'm going to assume is like a lot of it is like on our engineers, our programmer side, for them to be able to translate and move our joints around, uh, based off whatever the players wants to move. So
Makes
I don't,
sense.
that doesn't necessarily give me any more work, I don't believe. So
Now here's your Order 1886 you were talking about.
oh yeah,
Yep.
yeah. So I got to do a lot of cloth. Everybody wore a really long coat, or a long dress, and I felt like I wanted to work on like bikinis after that project. Just needed a break.
Wear less clothes, damn it.
So
Next project's
So you
gonna
do
take
the
place on
rigging
the beach.
specifically for clothing as well, not just the body itself, but like anything
Correct.
that's more or less attached to that body. It
Yeah,
goes
look
through
at
a
that
rigging
cloth.
process that you do.
Whip to the wind.
Yeah, yeah. Oh man, that scene was tough. Uh, yeah. We have to make sure that our cloth doesn't go through all our characters or get caught in the world, and looks like the material that they their texture represents. Does it look and feel like wool? Does it look like heavy metal? Things
Yeah,
like
'cause
that.
that's the worst is like if you make a wool and it all like looks like it's like really soft, like easy
Silk.
moving, yeah, silk,
Yeah.
yeah. And you're just like, no, it's supposed to be kind of heavy and resistant to movement a little bit, you know?
Yeah, exactly. Um, so it's pretty fun. Um, there's like a lot of templates out there now that kind of give you some parameters of materials that you can easily like take those data and probably paste it into your engine. Like Unreal, I believe, has like templates and stuff like that.
Very cool, very cool. So how many different projects have you worked on?
Oh, I don't even know. A bunch. I don't know.
How many studios have you worked at?
So let's see. One, two, three, four, five, at least 6 studios now. So one of the studios I was at was just before Blizzard, was Blind Swirl Games. They're, I would say, a smaller studio, but I don't think that's the case anymore. They're pretty decent size. They're like, I believe, over 100 people, but they're like more of an outsourced company, and other studios come to that studio for help, either to help make their game, or even to do things like remasters. So I worked on a bunch of projects there. I might have been on that project for a month, or I might have been on that project for a year. It varied a lot there, which was actually really cool for me because uh, I got to look at a bunch of different things all of the time, and they didn't always necessarily had character rigging work for me there. I got to learn world building and VFX and
Neat.
optimization stuff, and it was a really fun experience for me. So
Yeah,
um,
that's the one nice thing is be able to drop into a bunch of different projects so you don't get burned out on whatever you're working on.
yeah, it was. Yeah, the previous studios, it's like, okay, well, I've been on that project for a year or 3 years,
Right.
so I was like the order was, I think I was there for 3 years for that project. I was looking at the same guys over and over again. So
What studio is that?
uh, Ready at Dawn.
Radiant Dawn? All right.
They're also a local company. I've managed to stay. So Orange County has a pretty good plethora of stable studios here, so I haven't really
Yep.
had to move. That's from my own personal experience. I do know some of the other guys. They'll take great opportunities. So like in Seattle or Texas and things like that. So that's pretty neat. I did again try to go to New York, but then that didn't really work out. So I came back home. Which, oh darn, I came to Blizzard. So
Yeah. Yeah, that's a very a common story though, in at least in development
yes,
from my side of stuff, is bouncing all over the country all the time, because it's like you go to Austin, you go to California, you go to Seattle, you go to New York, you go to
yep,
Virginia, then you go back to Austin. You're like, it's like you never know where you're going, because there's studios in all kinds of different states too. Like you can,
yeah.
there's been studios in Colorado, all kinds of stuff. So
Yeah, that was a one thing, not really necessarily knowing as I got into this, is that, this industry is very project based. So once the project's over, which could be like a year or 3 years, they'll cycle people out if they don't necessarily have anything,
right now, yeah,
overlapped. So, and sometimes that happens. I've been at places where, our economy wasn't doing too great. So our projects weren't necessarily getting picked up. So they had to let people go. It's
uh,
unfortunate.
I know nothing about that experience.
Yeah.
I remember sitting there watching the death of studios. That was 09, 08, 09. Was literally sitting there because I
Yeah.
was at the time I was part of the EA network, right?
Mm.
So we just get an email every week. Black Box is closed. This studio is closed. This
Yeah.
studio is closed. I'm like, oh my God, I'm so going to lose my job. Sure enough,
Yeah.
one day they just walked in, farmed 20 of us, walked us into a room. You're all fired. Next month, they farmed 20 more people. You're fired. And just like rinse, repeat until the studio went from 350 people down to 50 people.
Yeah. Actually, that's definitely what happened. I was one of like the third round of layoffs, and
Mm-hmm.
I mean, it's not like we didn't see it coming. Just
Mm-hmm.
yeah, it's inevitable for when
It sucks.
things
It's
get
just
really big. That it's not ideal, but it happens. Uh, but thankfully, I think I've been laid off enough that I'm just like, okay, well,
yeah,
here we are again.
right. Yeah, I mean,
But
it
I'm
is.
really hoping that it's gonna be way more stable here at Blizzard. So they got so many other projects like all over the place. So yeah, I'm not
Well,
remotely worried anymore.
Blizzard and Bethesda seem to be like the two places to get a job. If you want a job that's you're gonna like be there for pretty much your career, those
Mhm.
are the two places to go,
Yeah,
because
that's
they
awesome.
don't do mass layoffs. I mean, well, I guess Blizzard kind of did a little bit, but I mean, but
Yeah,
that was like economic crash, all that other stuff. But overall, still very stable places to work because they
yeah,
do a lot of projects. So
yeah. They Blizzard really does try to take care of their employees. That, as far as I could tell, I mean, I haven't been there that long, but hearing stories and kind of seeing what happens, they do allow a lot of like their employees to like kind of move around to other projects if for maybe their health mental health reasons, or like, I've been on this project for 10 years, I'd like to try something else now.
yeah,
um, there's a lot
I
of
don't
people
want
on
to
our
see World of
project.
Warcraft ever again.
Right, exactly. So that's pretty neat. I'm really
So,
excited
oh yeah.
about
So knowing that, have you been strictly focused on Diablo 4, or have
that.
they
Yes.
like pulled? They haven't pulled you to anything else, or
Not me, no.
okay.
Yeah. They uh have shuffled people around before for other projects, but either they come back or they hang out there. But no, we're I've only been on Diablo 4. I expect to be on it and not moved around until we
Whenever
ship
it
at least.
launches?
Yeah, which
I think
I'm
next year. I think that's the scuttlebutt, as it were.
I got
uh,
nothing.
right. I got nothing. I
So
mean, and to be fair, everybody, when she says she got nothing, it's quite possible she doesn't have anything, because I didn't know what our release dates were on Warhammer until maybe 6 months ahead of time. So
Yeah, sometimes you don't know. I've definitely been on projects where they pushed it out even like a year out, and And I was just like, okay, well, that's unfortunate. I don't. But hopefully we don't get to there. So
So Haku asked, so are you rigging Lilith also?
she is not on my plate right now. Actually, I don't even know who would be rigging her, but unfortunately, I don't believe I am slated to do Lilith at this point in time.
Sadness.
I know I might have to fight somebody.
How much of the previous games did you have to study up on to rig mobs in Diablo 4 to make the world seem uniform to previous games?
None. I don't have to do that.
That
That it doesn't. That
more
doesn't
of
help
moving
me, I
into.
guess.
I guess that moves into animation basically. That's more of a.
Yeah, that would be probably more an animation thing if you're looking for movement or things like that.
So how does the project go then? They say we've got this character in mind, and they give you some concept art, and they say we want this character to move, build a frame for it, that kind of thing. And then how do you know what types of movements and all that they want? Is there
Actually, so yeah, we start off with concepts, and they might do some like studies of like movement, like little concept of movement. So
Mhm.
someone draws them like fighting or walking or something, or squatting. I don't know, but monsters do. Flying, I guess. I don't know. And then we will build a very block out, like low poly character, nothing too fancy, and I'll stick a skeleton where we believe like things will articulate. Which, if we have any questions, of course, we could just ask our concept artist or art director. But it's not like we're like we only talk to this people, talk to these people, talk to these people. Our animators will also talk about, at the concept stage, what they believe should be able to be moved as well. And so it's a lot of back and forth, and we'll talk about that. I'll give them this block out model with the rig in it, and we'll have a back and forth about like how do they feel where the positions are. Do they want more, movement somewhere? I can give them more bones to finagle around. So yeah, things like that. There's a lot of back and forth. It's not
It's what
like
we call the endless meetings.
it could be. We got to get a handle on it. We got good producers for as well. Like, no, y'all need to bring it in. So
generally
This one not
speaking
saying we got good producers. Sorry.
generally speaking within the industry, so not Blizzard specific, do you find that there is the communication between the technical artists such as yourself and the more graphical, hey, the idea people, do you find that communication is difficult? Has it gotten better over the years? Do these people understand each other's terminology?
sometimes terminology will muddle some things, but it's not anything we can't get around. Eventually we'll understand each other. But for me, I don't necessarily have any issues, I guess. As a technical artist, we are the bridge between the tech and the art, so we can usually communicate pretty easily with both sides. Um, Design, yeah, we have no there's nothing wrong there at all. We try to accommodate whatever their needs are as much as possible. So
kind of your kind of your job, as it were, right?
yeah, exactly. Yeah, those are not just animators, but designers are our clients. So uh, yeah, there's no issues there at all.
I guess that partially ties into a question that I was going to launch, which is like how connected are you to the actual development of the game in any way?
Like,
Do you like so the game is like do you understand are you brought in on any understanding of like what the story is or what the flow of anything is, or are you more just separated into this we need x guy to do this, and you're not really brought into like the whys and the whos, or are you connected to development in that sense of understanding that kind of flow of this is the scene, this is how it's supposed to lay out, you know?
yeah, that is very studio dependent, honestly. I've definitely been just, and I don't know if it's because I was like an associate or whatever, but they're just like, here's a thing, do the thing, and then it goes to thing. I'm like, okay, they will of course definitely tell us what the story is at least, but I don't necessarily know all the little nuances of what might this thing that they gave me goes to. Um, but as I've progressed and they have bigger needs from me, then I'll probably need to know like what the context of this item is. So I'm now able to ask and understand what that is. I would say the fun thing though about being at Blizzard is that they do try to give people the opportunity to people who like me don't normally give input about like how things work or gameplay wise or whatever, but they do actually do sessions where they kind of gather all around volunteers, and they say, hey, we want, I don't know, something like the barbarian, like we want to do a new move. So you're getting chased by a demon with the giant X. What would the barbarian do, or what would he cast, or something? And so we all get to write like little ideas down, and we give those to our our designers. And it's, I don't know, I've never been directly a part of it before, so it's been really
Right.
fun to be at Blizzard for that reason.
That's
Otherwise,
very
it's
cool.
just usually just people telling me what's going on. I
Right.
might be able to say something, but it usually doesn't feel like it goes anywhere. But pretty cool.
So Gladius wants to know, do they let you play the game at all early so that you can see how some things are moving or working, not
Absolutely.
working?
Yeah. Yeah. We actually do play tests. We do sit down as a project group. We sit down and we'll play our game probably every 3 months, I believe. And we just take many, many hours and just play the game and see what's new and see what's fun. But every day we can play part of our game if we want it. It's accessible to us on our machine. We can play it anytime we want.
Right.
So absolutely, yeah. For myself, I definitely play, but it's kind of more in a limited. I'm focusing in on looking at characters, so I might
I
be
was going
Right.
to
running
say,
around.
define play it for us. Is this like, okay, if you're working on movement for jumps and stuff, you're going to go in and basically just jump around and watch how everything. So you're not actually, you may not actually be going through the whatever storyline they might have in place, but you're, you know.
I would say it on my day to day, I'm not. I am in the game, maybe experiencing whatever character I'm working on to make sure that whatever cloth wise maybe works in the environment, doesn't get broken, or you know, just seeing what new animations our animators have so I can make sure that some of the stuff that I made for them isn't broken in engine. But no, absolutely every day we could play part of the story. We can play a dungeon or whatever. Uh, so it's pretty awesome.
Yeah, that's the one thing. It's much like a dev. Yeah, they tell you you could play the game, but you are always at work at that point. Your brain clicks into the I gotta take a note on that. Like
Yeah, kind of. Yeah,
what? How'd that
absolutely.
slip through? I'm totally gonna have to fix that later on. Like,
Yeah, and we'll deliberately play the story just to see if there's anything broken. Of course, we try to
yeah,
QA our own stuff.
yeah.
Now, are you
No, luckily,
strictly character models, or do you do like flags and tarps and drapes and other stuff like
Yeah.
that in the environment?
For here on this project, I'm strictly characters.
But as a rigger, that would still be something done. Somebody somewhere has that job of all those. Okay.
Yeah, we have. I think we have like I think they're called like interactive team or department, and they do like props and things like that. I think I get to do a cloth simulation, like if like your weapon had like a flag on it or something like that. We have that
Because it's
ability,
still
but
technically a
right.
part of the. It's attached to the
Character,
character.
right?
yeah, yeah,
It's that
but
gray fuzzy area.
yeah, exactly.
Gray fuzzy area. Isn't that like mold?
So for
Oh well,
so
put it
for
that way.
viewers that are just listening and not actually watching chat, if you have questions for Jolene, please feel free to stick them in there. And again, just as long as they're not directly related to Diablo 4, you'll be fine. We'll get them asked, or she'll even see it there on her screen and answer them away. But please feel free to ask away.
go to Mephisto route, don't have legs.
It's one way to get around it.
Okay,
Yeah,
but
he has like 2 sets of arms.
and he had a
So
lot of flowing, or a lot of material on him. So did the lack of legs and the fact that he's floating around make it more difficult to do? Would you think?
yeah.
No.
Yeah, floating is pretty great. Yeah.
Floating's pretty great.
Yeah. Pretty
I like the realization. Yeah, just floating. That's great.
Yeah. You can just walk by.
Okay, that was pretty epic.
Floating by.
For those that can't see, her flatmate just basically kind of shrunk down behind her and tried to scoot across. I would assume you hate working on VR games, especially from a player point of view. You'd be doing hands and fingers all the time. That makes sense.
I've worked on an AR game. It was a Star Wars Jedi Challenges. There was like it was actually several studios worked on that game, but I helped do. It was like kind of like almost like a tower defense, and I got to do all the tiny little stormtroopers and little Luke Skywalker and Darth Vader, and it was super cool. But I don't know, it was like the simplest of rigs, really. So it's very like low poly guys.
Yep.
I've only worked on like a prototype for a VR game, so unfortunately my stuff is limited, but it would just require like less joints, less complicated rigs, but nothing terrible for me. I don't mind it, I guess.
VR in a way seems to be almost like starting over in a way. Like
Yeah.
if you looked at because everything's kind of gotta be low poly, it's gotta be kind of low probably bones and rigging and much more simplified because it just doesn't have the power to kind
Right.
of run that anymore.
Yeah.
It's,
No, absolutely. That's definitely the biggest challenge. I would say that I have it more easy than like say our VFX artists. Like draw calls for VFX and like anything with transparencies is like I hear it's like a headache. So also if you happen to get motion sickness from those things, I know it's very difficult to work on your own project.
trying to work on the project. Yeah.
Yeah.
That would
Heard some
suck.
stories.
Yeah, I'm not a huge fan of VR myself. Mostly, I think it's the glasses thing.
Yeah, they've yet to make a good VR helmet for people with glasses.
I thought Oculus had some like extra space these days.
Oh yeah. Until it still bangs into your glasses, and you're still like, oh, then it goes kink like this, and all of a sudden everything's on a warp. And
Are you allowed to acknowledge what you are or are not actively rigging on character-wise within Diablo?
I don't know.
Okay, we'll just stay away from those questions then. There are some questions that came out, but
I can say a lot of my work right now though actually is villagers. So it's a lot of humans.
Okay, there you go.
Busting out the mass amounts of villagers.
A lot of villagers. The world has to have a population of not just monsters, so yeah.
I don't know. I've been playing Diablo. I haven't really seen that. Mostly it's just one town, 5 merchants, and the world is monsters.
Yeah. There's a lot of those guys.
What project, let's see, Anto asks, what project that you never get to talk about and you would want to tell us about?
That I never get to talk about. I would want to talk about. I don't know if I can talk about some of the ones so the one in New York was pretty awesome. Again, it was, it was a game that I was on briefly for like 4 months and then unfortunately disappeared. But I was working on this really cool like stone turret character, and she was like magical, and she'd bring all these stones as her body, and so I got to do all these like weird floating stones as the torso, and like each bone like stone had a joint in it, and the animator can like make her body explode, and I don't know, it was super fun. But don't remember what the name of that project was. That's how invested I was. Sorry.
Malice, you've muted yourself.
I think your kitty cat might have muted you.
Yep, my cat actually muted me.
She's like, you need to know now.
Like, no, now, attention me.
That's awesome.
Let's see. Oculus works great with glasses. Take it from someone who uses it.
Cat butt aggro. Yeah. That's what it feels like all of the time.
Yep. Love the cat more and more. Wow, Crass, really? Just like totally like, yep. You show up at my show to want to hear me muted. I see how it is. I see how it is, Crass.
So, Jolene, what's the dream?
Yeah.
You've gotten into character rigging. You're doing all this stuff. What is like the ultimate dream? If you could do this, you would say, I've completed my bucket list as far as my professional career is concerned.
I don't know. I feel like I've kind of more or less reached that. I got to be on a project that made me, got me into the video game industry. And I'm at a pretty awesome company that takes pretty good damn care of their employees. I really, really, really enjoy the people that I work with. My immediate team is super awesome. I like every single one of them. They are all very talented people. They're really easy to talk to. I don't know. I feel like I hit a really good sweet spot, so I don't even know what's next anymore.
Yeah, I know just a few people over at Blizzard there in all kinds of different departments, and yeah, it's one thing. They have all been very good Blizzard cultists. They're like, yep, this place is awesome.
Yeah,
and some of them moved on, but overall, most of them have just loved it and have been staying there. So
yeah, a lot of the guys that I've talked to, man, there's just some people there that are like, I've been here for 8 years. I've been here for 15 years. I've been here for 20 years. And that blows my mind. That's neat that you can hang out at a place that long even. However, a lot of companies will give out like little awards or something like that for how long you've been at their company. Blizzard gives out award gifts as well. If you're there for 2 years, you get a really pretty Stein. Has like WoW all over it. For the 5th year, you get a real sword. And once you get your sword, they have on campus like sword training, so you can learn how to use your sword.
That is cool as fuck.
For 10 years, you can now defend yourself, and you get a shield.
Oh my gosh!
For 15 years, I believe, you get a helmet. I don't even know what you get after that. I'm just excited to be there for 2 years. I'm like, yeah, give me a cup. It's pretty neat. There's people every week.
Get your bug on, right?
Yeah, nice. We every week we celebrate someone's anniversary. We start the week off with like celebrating, like, someone's been here for 2 years, someone's here for 3 years, and then if it's like they, one of those big milestones, they do a big presentation. They bring them up. They're like, here's your thing, and they'll do a big speech about like how awesome that employee is, and it's really cool to hear. It's neat to see how every week they get to appreciate somebody on the team.
Yeah, that is very cool. Come on, kid.
Bobo, that is rather crude there, mister. After 50 years, you get a tombstone.
I don't know, man.
Get to retire, maybe.
I mean, I think the company only existed for 30, right?
Thank you, D. Saying you're correct. 15 years, you get a pretty ring, and then 20 years is the helm.
There you go.
Oh, and we have another Blizzard employee in the house. Is that what this is? Or former Blizzard employee, perhaps?
Possibly.
So,
like I said, I know a few, so some of them have been invited to view the show, just to keep you honest.
Thanks.
No problem. I wouldn't have done that to you. I'm not that mean.
No, I definitely know who invited this particular person.
Any words of wisdom for people who are like want to get into this kind of thing?
Learn Python. Yeah, that'll give you a big edge up on all kinds of stuff. It's practically necessary to know rigging, but you can even split off if you decide that you're maybe more or less tired of rigging and you just want to make tools for rigging. Like that's totally an option as well. They like throw money at you.
Okay, you say tools for rigging. We've got people that may not know, what does that entail? What does that mean?
A lot of riggers, they will have to make their own tools, which is I like to say they're professional easy button makers. A lot of the time what we do is we do the same thing over and over and over again. We'll we create that same joint like 30 times for different reasons, but like you literally like will script out an easy button for yourself. So sometimes it's like I've built this whole skeleton, but now I need to attach like arm controllers to it. So now you like having a button that says, okay, well, if I find this joint, I'm going to create this connection with this controller so the animator can now move the arm around. So we actually have dedicated tools guys for us at Blizzard. So when I do my rigging, I can now just press a button and all the stuff magic happens, and it's pretty awesome.
So you have to create the joint or the movement first, and then essentially give that script to them, which they then turn into a easy button for you, more or less.
Yeah, I kind of tell them what I need, and I'll tell them like I've been doing this like 50 times now. It'd be cool if I can get like a button out of that or something. And they're like, yeah, sure. I know how to script, so I can make my own like little tools. So there'll be something where I can like say I can select like a ring of polygons, and then I want to put a joint in the center of that. So it'll whatever I have selected, it'll put a joint there in the center of that what I have selected. Little things like that. It's like super easy, but
and they speed up the day, right?
Absolutely, yeah.
Especially we got to pound through 20 peasants today. I gotta.
Exactly. Oh my god.
Take all day to make 20 peasants and about 2 seconds to just flatten them all out. Okay, so Python, anything, what else?
I mean, getting a hold of Maya would probably be the absolutely best. Don't even bother with 3D Studio Max. It's whatever.
Total garbage. Only Maya.
It's whatever.
So if somebody that self-teaches themselves how to do this kind of thing, do they stand a chance, or is it more beneficial to go through schooling? Is this what studios are looking for?
I don't believe so. I believe you can absolutely self-teach yourself. There's tons of tutorials out there. You can get really in depth with character rigging, but there's plenty of stuff. Ultimately, what we look at is your demo reel, kind of like those videos that you showed earlier. Is something that demonstrates your ability to do something. So my demo reel, the last one that had come out, was more catered towards cloth and physics stuff. So that I was at the time kind of trying to take my career in that path. So, but if you can get a hold of those two things and look at some tutorials online, but yeah, you should be great. Can you make an easy button for learning Python? I would have made that by now.
I have been trying to find that one for a long time.
Python is a large heavy button.
No, I just need one of those easy button toys. Easy button. I know Python now.
I know. So
it becomes a Matrix. Yeah, exactly. A Matrix. I know Kung Fu.
That's like 20-year-old reference, right? Do people know what that is?
Some
people know what that movie is.
I think everybody
in this channel
in this chat not know what I Know Kung Fu is from.
You expect anybody to actually admit that?
Someone might. Everyone here must know it.
No, they're just gonna go look it up. They have the legalese.
Well, that's the great thing is it's like the worst case scenario is we've taught some young person how to, like broaden their horizons. Here's a movie, go watch it. If you were to pick a genre that you prefer to work in,
Ooh.
is it horror, fantasy, sci-fi, anything like that? Or real weird, like, Earthworm Jim? You don't really call that a genre. That's just wackadoodle crazy.
Yeah, it's like, isn't that like sci-fi fantasy? I would say the fantasy horror is pretty fun. Again, more specifically, I like being on projects that have weird creatures to look at.
So horror fills that niche probably
Yeah.
more often than most.
Yeah.
Fantasy does pretty good too, but horror definitely wanders down that dark path.
Least favorite genre?
More basic humans.
Yeah. I would probably not be as fulfilled if it was something like chibi characters or something like that. But
Yeah.
I probably want more complex things to look at. So, yeah. I've never been on that type of project, but that's what I would imagine, I guess.
Yeah. Have you ever thought of, maybe your graduation from gaming would be to get into movies or anything like that? Now that CGI and stuff like that is so prevalent in the industry?
Yeah, a big part of not wanting to be in the film industry is the culture. Video games lately have been attempting to get a handle on their crunching, more or less. And Blizzard has been pretty excellent so far to me in terms of this. And Blind Squirrel was super great for me I didn't have to really crunch there.
Nice.
But it's not necessarily like that in film. I like living outside of work.
Yeah, no, I totally get that.
So
one of the things that kind of removed me from being in the game industry was the year plus 65, 70-hour weeks, and just wanting to get the heck into some type of semblance of real life. So.
yeah.
So that was a question that Sehaku had asked earlier. How often do you get to play games, and do you still want to play games in your free time?
I do. I definitely don't play as much as I would like after work, but that's because I have other like adult stuff that I have to take care of. Nothing really. It's just my own thing. Tons of people in our studio, they're always playing games. Like Doom is out, and okay, I might be addicted to Animal Crossing right now, but whatever. It's just so easy to pick up, you guys. Why did they do this to me? I've been playing a lot of Modern Warfare, Ni no Kuni. I just got as well because I got the Switch at the end of last year, so I've been playing a lot of those games. I tried to get back into WoW Classic, but I have all those other games that my other friends play, and I want to play with my friends, so do that. So it's not too big a deal.
Are you a big MMO player?
I used to play a lot more MMOs like back in high school and college. But then so when like WoW came out in college, I had to actually give it a break and like cut myself off from it because I needed to graduate. And I actually managed to like not get too crazy back into MMOs. So since then. Otherwise, yeah, I think I ended up going into more FPS. I played like a lot of Halo and Destiny, I guess, as well. A bunch of other random games. I really do enjoy like RPG games. So like Ni no Kuni, I played boatloads of. I'm so excited. Final Fantasy VII, but at the same time,
2 days.
I just know it's like it's gonna be a time sink, and I don't know if I could do it because I have to like eat and go to work, I guess. I do like my
And
job.
and you're gonna have to get to that point where Arya dies again.
Oh my god. Shh, some people don't know.
One of the most emotional moments of 7. When I originally played, I was like, I didn't think a video game could make me just be like, what?
Yeah.
No, 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 you can't. No, no. Oh, my loot.
I think it's fascinating with that game that they've managed to take the first 6 hours of the original game and okay.
Oh, she crashed out.
That is a crash. Give me just a second here, folks. We'll coming back on. Maybe.
That'd be hey, if they killed Tifa instead, I'd be like, cool. Expendable character number 8.
Like I was saying, taking 6 hours, the original intro into the game, and expanding it now to 40 hours of playtime that's huge. But yeah, can't wait for that. That'll be fun. What if she didn't die this time?
Yeah. Yeah, I keep thinking, how did I get her limit break so quickly?
Can't wait to see all of
The
Midgar.
new bay and that tower coming down. Yeah, it should be really interesting, especially the level of graphics and gameplay and everything like that I've seen from it is just so incredible that I'm way too excited to it's just a different game. It's completely just a different experience. So I'm totally excited. Hey,
there we are. Back.
Turn it out, turn it off and on again.
Yep.
Yep.
So before we started this, you had mentioned that you also do some D&D stuff.
I do, yeah. I'm super new. Like as of this year, I started playing. My sister DMs. It's also her first time DMing, I believe, and so she, did a trial run with me and more or less me with her because I didn't know what to expect. And actually, I've never seen anybody play D&D, so I didn't know what to do. And she's like, "You can literally do anything." I was like, "Oh, okay." And we did a little one shot, and I didn't die, so that was cool. And I kind of got really hooked. And so we had scheduled to play every month now, but now that we're under quarantine and the internet is available, we've played we're going to start playing every week probably. So I'm really excited.
Yeah, actually, I run a campaign every 2 weeks, so yeah,
Nice.
I know that that hook.
Yeah.
I haven't played in a long time, and all of a sudden it was just like, hey, let's play some games. I'm like, okay, so they got me into a game, and all of a sudden they're like, you want to run a game? Okay, I'll do it.
Nice.
So as a plug and something to help you out, Rain survives here in Chad along with Gladius. They run a channel called Tabletop to Keyboard. It's all about D&D and pretty much everything you can think of surrounding that. So they're on Twitch. Go check them out. But they bring on guests all the time and talk about different parts.
Air Laser's here. What's up, Air Laser?
Different parts of the D&D community and whatnot. So if you're getting into that and that stuff has hooked you and you're interested, by all means check these guys out. You will not be sorry. Some of that music stuff we were talking about before with the guy who makes music for little games, that's part of their channel. So
yeah, that was pretty awesome.
So yeah, definitely check them out. Send to your sister and stuff like that. Always helps enhance the experience. Even they play on what night, Rain? What night do you guys play? So I can't remember what night they play.
Is it
Thursday?
Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday? Saturday?
It's Thursday. They do shows
Wednesdays.
every
Pathfinder
night.
2E is Wednesdays.
Pathfinder, yeah, that's their new show. So they're going to do Pathfinder. They also are 5E is every other week. All right. Anyway, so they actually run a really cool campaign. They run it all online, so using Roll20 and basically a chat room like this, so that they I'll lay everything out, and then you can do all the rolls and everything like that.
Cool.
I'm actually about to move my D&D campaign to Roll20. I don't think I'm comfortable enough doing like a Twitch stream or anything on it, but I'm gonna.
Yeah, that's actually what we're using is Roll20 now that we're in quarantine. So
Right.
it was a bit of a learning curve for us, but like I kept pressing roll buttons without my like, plus initiative or something stupid. I was like, fine, it's minor.
She will learn to become victorious.
Yeah.
The trick is, I don't know if you guys are paying for Roll20, but if you pay for Roll20, you can get macros, and
Oh,
so
okay.
you can build out macros in it, and then when you go to roll initiative, it just grabs all the stuff.
Oh.
It's the easy button for Roll20.
I like that. I like easy buttons. All right.
Well, good to know. What do we got, Rain? Yeah, I'm about to walk into a landmine tomorrow of running a stream online for the first time. Yep.
Coronavirus, obviously, big poo-poo stuff that's out and about. What is that doing to y'all at Blizzard? How are they handling that? Is it slowed down production of stuff?
You know what? It feels. I mean, of course, like the first week of work, we all work from home now, actually. I would say probably like 95% of us. I believe there are a few people still at the office to like handle, particular IT related things. But as the rest of us devs, we all work from home. The first week was a little, as expected, a little bumpy, but by the second week we already kind of had our schedule nailed down. We use Slack, and we use WebEx, and we use Miro to communicate with each other very often. It feels like working from home. It feels like working in the office, but just slightly quieter, I guess. um, I'm more cats here, I guess.
Larger cat population.
A larger cat population here. No, it's. I would say we have not really slowed down at all. We're able to get all of our work done. I don't have any problems working from home. I'm able to work, at speed that I would normally work at. So
Narthesis says maybe Blizzard needs more cats then.
I agree. So what's really awesome about Blizzard is that they let pets on their campus. So a lot of dogs show up. I believe we can like register our cat to come in, and now that I have Boba there in the back, he's super friendly, and I kind of want to bring him in once we're able. So we'll see.
Yeah, the company I worked at, Carpinteria, they had a dog policy, but they had no cat. I was the champion for trying to get cat policy because I was like, I want to bring my cat in, damn it.
Yeah.
A lot more allergies for cats.
Yeah. That's unfortunate.
I told
but they
them
don't bark as loud.
Yeah, no, right.
I don't know. I've heard some pretty annoying cats that just meow nonstop, but
I don't know any cats like that at all. Like the one clawing the fuck out of my hand right now. What's up, buddy? But this is why this is my fault. This comes from me. I named my cats Havoc and Chaos. That's my fault. I gave them permission, basically. See, Chicken Pants is like, yeah, where do you take that as cat? Cat's like, yep, Chicken Pants. That's cool. But if I was named Havoc, it'd be like, let's wreak some havoc.
He does a lot of yelling and screaming right now. Do chickens do that? Because he
yes, especially at dawn.
Oh yeah. His is definitely all the time.
All day, yeah. Because I say
he wants to play and he knows we're around. So
yeah. Is it she or he?
It's a he.
He. Does he like at like 6 o'clock in the morning be like meow, meow, sit on your face and be like, I need to eat now?
Not that, but he like he will step on me and like purr really loud in my face, and then like, oh, you're up, and you're like, it's 4 o'clock in the morning, cat. Which really though, I bought a food robot that feeds my cats. I don't know why they still come.
Malice, that's what you need.
Talk to the robot.
I highly recommend the robot, by the way.
Oh yeah, I'm trying to get one of the robots for the litter box first.
Ooh, yeah. I know that's next. We'll see.
Yeah, it's like I want to be like once a week, not like every freaking day.
I just opened the door for my dog. She goes outside.
That's nice.
Speaking of that, Narth, how is the robot going? He has the robot that I want. It's like a big egg, and it when the cats aren't in it, it rotates.
Oh, I've seen
cleans
those.
itself.
Yeah,
I'm
I heard
like,
those are good.
yeah, oh my god, I really want one of those. So like,
Robot is
that's
still
cool.
working.
Yeah, a poop robot. All right.
Well, Jolene, are there any other little tidbits about what you do that we may have not touched on that maybe people don't think about?
I don't know. I feel like we kind of touched on all that. We talked a little bit about tools, bones, models. So one of the things that I deal a lot with when I interact with our character modelers is topology flow and edge flow for our models. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about, but all our characters are made of polygons,
right.
all like squares and rectangle things, and
No, they're polygons. That's why it's called a polygon.
polygons. Right.
I have a mute button for him. I could hit.
But the placement of them is actually kind of important for us, and how things kind of like accordion out or squish together or things like that. We have to take that into consideration. So working with a good, decent model is helpful when you rig. But as for a beginner, I wouldn't necessarily worry about it, but it's something you do learn as you go. You're like, man, when I do this, there's like this weird, like long polygon here, and it would be cool if it, didn't do that. Maybe if I moved the edge of the polygon like this way more or something like that. But it's kind of a nice back and forth that you kind of have to have. Um, it's it's something I constantly go with our character modelers every day.
Do you ever run into like model tearing, like where it like actually like separates or anything like that?
Yeah, sometimes that happens, intentionally or not, and I'll bring that up as feedback, saying, "Is this intentional or not?" If it is, I'll take that into consideration. Usually, there isn't a good reason for that, unless we are like, say, a character's modular, like the pants have to switch out or things like that. Then to have a cut in the pants might make sense.
Right.
Things like that. But so do you know what normals are? So it's like fake. So for clothing, if you look at my cool, cute sweater here, there's a lot of these like wrinkles.
Mm-hmm.
We wouldn't necessarily model out all of these wrinkles. We would have a, a texture on here that looks like there are wrinkles in it. And so what happens is if you have a normal, what they're called normals here, like stretch and get really weird as I like raise the arm, I might bring that to the attention to the character modeler, saying like, hey, when we do this, or if the character raises his arm to like hit somebody, we see like this weird, strange shadow. So I'll let them know about that type of stuff. But
So Rain is asking, normals is in the layer? He's trying to teach himself Unreal Engine at the moment.
oh, I see. It is a part of a material. So you have there's your material, and you like plug in your color, or we'll say color. normal is bump map is another maybe word
Oh,
for
okay.
it, I believe. Yes.
That I know.
Yeah. Got it. Sorry.
Yep. Both Rain and I were like, "Oh, now I know exactly what you're talking about."
So Rain also asked there. Sorry if you talked about it at the beginning. You missed the beginning, but what tools are you using?
I use primarily Maya for my work. I have touched a little bit of Unreal Engine. Oh, if you Epic has this thing called it's called Art Animation Rigging Tool, I believe, or something like that. It's free, and they you can easily set up a character using this tool, like an easy character rig. So you don't have to like teach yourself how to rig in order to get your character moving. Um, so uh, so if you're like say a character modeler, but you want to pose your character, like I recommend that tool. It's kind of an easy one. And it easily, if you're using Unreal, it easily like exports out to Unreal.
So if you're
Um,
texturing a character's stomach, would you use abnormals?
Nice.
Oh. North, you're fired. Out. Oh, the punishment.
That was awesome. Narth, you got a gold star for the show. Hey Dale, welcome in.
Hey, just got here. So your family reunion was long on your own personal stream, huh? There, Dale. Well, honestly, Dale unfortunately kind of rolled in at the end here. But
just rewind.
Yeah,
there you go. Let's be up on Twitch for good old 14 days, and we'll get it over to YouTube as well. Yeah. So, and then if you want to connect with Jolene, just go through Malice.
Yeah.
He can set you up. Unless his cat kills him.
Right holy crap! Like he is like violent right now. It's like at one point I was like, if you saw my like horrible face, I had all 4 claws driven into my hand. I was like, blood. So, like, yeah. But I want to thank everybody else for coming on out today. I want to thank our wonderful guest for coming and joining us, teaching us about rigging and about being a technical artist and all the wonders that is. And I guess that's where one of the things that I kind of wanted to do as a teaching moment for our crowd is there is this overall anger. This happens a lot in the MMO crowd is they put out blah, blah, blah art assets and blah, blah, blah skin and blah, 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 but they didn't fix this bug in the game. And I'm just like, yeah, because people like Jolene don't work on the bugs. That's not their job. They don't have any connection to that. They're working on character models. They have their processes. They're doing their thing. And they're not developers who should be fixing the damn bugs. So I always try to make that clear to people. It's just like it always frustrates me when people try to go after the artists over things that it's not the artist's job, or they may not even, like you said in Blizzard, at least like you have some type of connection. In a lot of studios, there's no connection. Like I remember when I was at Mythic, like though there was a whole floor that was the artists, and we didn't go there because, like,
well, and how many people realize that there's this technical artist, this step between the artistic and more of the techie types? I mean, I didn't know that, so I mean, it's great to know now that.
Well, yeah, thank you for letting me speak about it. We don't get to talk a lot. In these types of settings. You could probably find some tech artists in like tech talks, so like GDC or something like that. But yeah, this is great. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you. It's been
not a lot of people know about us.
That's wonderful. That's great.
I'm very glad you came to join us today. And do we have any announcements?
Yeah. So this Saturday, the 11th, the next episode of Exploring the New World, everything about Amazon's New World, will be coming out. Be Who You Want to Be. Just pick a side. That'll hit in the morning on YouTube only. Sunday is our town hall again. We'll be talking about social anxiety in gaming. You're not going to want to miss that one. 10 o'clock Eastern. And then back here.
But what if I have too much anxiety to watch it?
You're on it, Malice.
Oh, fuck.
And then back right here on Tuesday, show up, and hopefully by then we'll have figured out what we're talking about. So.
But the following week afterwards will be wonderful. So trust me, we'll announce that next week.
Yeah, there'll be another guest coming on. So, and can I adopt Jolene as my sister? I'm guessing that is your sister that's talking right now. Okay, I figured. So,
all right.
You can hear her giggling.
Giggling madly. All right. Thanks all for coming to the MMO Grind. Make sure to check out our other shows. And thanks for following Smart Gamer Live and the Smart Gamer Network. Y'all have a great night.